I begin this morning with a bit of a confession. Though you will never see me wearing one at the altar, I do have a not particularly healthy love of watches. I've loved watches all my life. My earliest memories as a child, when I would see my father's wristwatch or pocket watch, I just was fascinated, and I've loved them to this very day, some 50 plus years later. Unfortunately, my economic circumstances do not allow me to indulge in this love of fine watches. But my brother who shares this love, well, his circumstances are different, and so I live vicariously through him. He has quite a lovely collection of wristwatches. And this Thanksgiving, while Shelley, Ben, and I were at his home, I got to see the latest addition to his collection. And that was on my mind as I drove home with Shelley and with Ben, began to transition from that gratitude-filled day of Thanksgiving to preparation for this, the first Sunday of Advent. And it reminded me, as we were driving down, speeding along the 5, of an advertisement I saw some years ago for a special wristwatch. It's a watch that claims to be the most accurate timepiece ever invented. It comes with a guarantee to be precisely correct forever, in all time zones, not just on this earth, our island home, but throughout the universe. This watch needs no battery. You don't have to wind it. There's no solar power unit or anything like that. In fact, this watch has no numbers on its face. There are no hands that move. There is no digital display. No, all you see on the face of this watch are 3 letters that spell the word now. N-O-W. Well, this watch, which is still available, by the way, I checked, is obviously a gimmick. But when I first saw it, I thought of today. I thought of Advent, for Advent is about time. Advent is about God's time given to us to have and to use, or to waste and to lose. So let's begin this Advent Sunday by asking, what time is it for you? Now, if you are really young, you're impatient with time. You want to get on with things, the next grade, next school year. You want to get to that place where you are able to enjoy some of the freedom that your parents enjoy, experience the parts of life that grown-ups get to experience that are still denied to you. And if you're a little older, you may think it's time at last to get beyond school, to live on your own. You may have found a job, but that's not the end of the quest. Maybe it's time to discover that a job won't define you for life. If you're in middle age or beyond, maybe it's time for you to ask whether what you're doing is what you ought to be doing. And that goes beyond the vocational question, beyond even making a living. You've lived long enough to know that you do have choices, that there is time left to choose. But choice now means change. You may look at your own life maybe beyond your own life, and say, it's time now to do something about the world instead of just complaining about it. Maybe it's time to influence the way things are, time to stop repeating empty words and to instead make a contribution to our common life. No matter your age, we might say this is always the right time to examine our spiritual life. I define that term, at least this morning, as that part of your life that others do not see, but that you know, and you know is real. On the spiritual level, it's time to get right with God and to ask, who am I? How do I account for me, for life itself? Am I willing to entertain the proposition that I can't do it all alone? Have I really stopped long enough as an adult to see whether the claims for God, for God's very existence, and for God's claim on me are real in any sense? If you haven't taken time to find out what's real for you, it's time now. Of course, for those old enough to know that time is running out, there is still time to tell someone how much you love him or her, or to forgive, or to be forgiven. The burden of the message of Jesus is that no matter what age you have reached, it's late in time, but not too late. That's challenging and hopeful at the same time. And it's not too late as we enter another Advent to take time for silence, to create, even in this noisy city, time for meaningful reflection and not just for action or reaction. Time to contemplate your living instead of just living. Time for your very soul. One of the benefits of praying the daily office is morning and evening prayers, general confession. Well, while on retreat with the monks of the Society of St. John the Evangelist week before last, one line of the general confession struck me as particularly meaningful. We have left undone those things which we ought to have done, and we have done those things which we ought not to have done. Think of the first half of that sentence as Advent, and the second half as Lent. The second half, those things we have done which we ought not to have done, those words you said which you shouldn't have said, those double doubles and animal fries from In-N-Out you ate which you shouldn't have. Well, we'll worry about those things later during Lent. Advent, on the other hand, concerns not what we've done, but those things we have left undone, which we ought to have done. And it is the season to realize that we have been given the time to do them. Time has not yet run out. So what have you left undone? What are you putting off that you know you need to do? The season of Advent, coinciding with these shortening days of the year, reminds us that time is a perishable gift. The Advent watch says that now is the time to be merciful. Now is the time to be gentle and kind. Now is the time to be generous of spirit, with a courtesy so very real and deep, it amounts to beauty and cannot be faked. The Advent watch says that now is the time to do the things we have left undone. Now is the time to speak the words of love we have left unsaid. Now is the time while we still have the time. Now is the time before it is too late. So imagine for a moment wearing such a watch during these short days. Imagine looking at it, and imagine being reminded. The Advent watch says it is now the moment for you to wake from sleep. For the night is far gone, and the day is at hand. The time is now.